Well, I'm Neva Parker,
And my name's Tomas Evangelista.
And I'm Bex Campbell.
and this is our Own Heroes podcast. And this week, lots of things happened. Well, actually, it's been 2 weeks, I think, since we've last met. So we might need to rethink the whole weekly thing. But at the moment, the last couple of weeks, some things have popped up along the nature of strength. And so we thought today that we would talk about strength, define strength, how people wield it. And so that's what we're going to do this week. I don't know necessarily how to start. If somebody else has a story or anything they'd like to share.
But my question is just kind of fun, but it's also something that has been debated out in the internet the last few weeks, and you guys probably have heard it. If you haven't, I'll be surprised. But it's related on strength, but actually the physical form of strength. And I'll ask both of you, who do you think would win in a fight? 100 men or a gorilla? I was like, I gotta ask that to Neva and Bex.
In a fight with what?
Well,
with each other?
Yeah.
So 100 men fighting each other or 100 men fighting a gorilla?
100 men fighting a gorilla. One gorilla.
That gorilla's winning.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Well, multiple reasons. One, not every single one of those men are going to be invested in that fight. A good chunk of them are going to run away. And that's not a commentary on men. That's just a commentary on people in general. Yeah. Okay. They're going to be like,
fight or flight.
Yeah. There'll probably be like, I don't know, a handful of people willing to fight left. And then they're going to fight on how to fight. If there's going to be like 3 people willing to like actually work together to try to take this thing down. And by then, that gorilla will have won. That's really not great.
It's a very interesting. I'm so curious about how this question came to be. Like, how did it like start circulating the internet? Because it's just help me make it make sense, people. I mean, I'm trying. This is like an exercise in like creativity in your mind, because I'm trying to envision an actual gorilla fighting 100 men, or let's say even 20 men. Like, what does that look like? Are they in a line and just one by one, like the gorilla knocks out?
Like a movie, are they taking turns?
Circling him.
I go all at once. Just gotta overwhelm him.
They just dogpile on. That doesn't even make sense.
Some people are saying like, yeah, you're gonna lose 20 men, but like if we all rush at once and overpower the gorilla, and there's obviously they don't have endurance as well, so yeah, he may destroy like 20 or 30 of us, but then some of us I think will be able to overpower him.
I'm gonna guess the gorilla will recognize his odds and he'll flee.
I've seen that answer as well. Back so I
don't know this. I need to know why. Why is this a question? Like, someone help me.
Podcasts. That's why.
A podcast.
Was this like two dudes sitting around just being like, bro?
Yeah.
A gorilla fought off like 100 guys.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's probably how it started, and then that went viral, and then everyone else. Now we're doing it.
So do like men and women answer these questions differently?
Yes, I've seen different answers. So like, Neva, you touched on something that I've seen other people say, like, well, yeah, people would be scared, and then the natural instinct of fear will kick in. And some others, you have to kind of put some conditions. Like, it's a fight to the death. Yeah. Like, there's one gorilla. There's one gorilla, and there's only 100 men in the world, and we have to take it down. So you have to, or it's attacking like 100 men. So like in that scenario, like you have to fight it to the death. So like there's that scenario. But then there's another answer, and I guess I'll frame it this way: is someone was asking like, was it 100 like Gregs from HR, or I guess how I say it, like 100 like assemblymen? Like, if it's 100 assemblymen, like that girl is winning. Or is it like 100 football players, or 100 like MMA guys, or just these, big...
So the football players would probably win because they'll figure out how to do strategy and like work the field, right? That's a good point. Yeah. Like, who is it? Because for me, when I was thinking of the question, I had a whole mismatch of people. Like it was Greg's from HR and football players and dads and
Right.
like other kind of stuff, and like all different ages. And so that's what I put into my head. But well, then another condition is it like Thunderdome, like 100 men in and one gorilla, and then like one
Right. You can't run
out.
away.
Yeah. So
So,
that's or
yeah, you have, guys that are 6'5" and are just like 300 pounds themselves and can push a lot of weight
yeah.
around. If you have like 100 of those guys, like some people,
Are they packing? Did somebody got a gun?
no, you have
Like,
to, it's fists.
is it
That's all you
bare
have.
knuckle fighting with a
Yes. You cannot have any weapons. Yeah, some people brought weapons into the picture, and I was like, nope, just you and the
eh,
gorilla. Gorilla can't. Well, maybe they can hold like something to swing at people, but weapons, no.
I
What?
don't know.
And
Yeah.
there,
I mean, like history will tell you that I'm sure because we have gorillas in captivity, 100 men will win.
mm,
But
you know,
like,
I forget his name, but
but
Steve
still,
Irwin's son, um,
yeah.
also like chimed into this question, and they're animal experts or have more experience with animals, and they his answer was like the gorilla would run away, like they would see like 100 men coming at it, like they they wouldn't just sit there and fight, they would just probably be scared and just
Right. So that is an interesting commentary
Oh,
because the gorilla sees 100 men and he understands that to survive and to continue perpetuating on his existence and perhaps his species, he will abandon his sense of like machismo or whatever
yeah.
to stay alive. Whereas
yeah.
I don't know that all the men would. Sorry, fellas.
But if his what is it? What are gorillas pack? Whatever. If his family were there,
Oh,
like
I see.
if he was like the alpha
Oh, maybe he
gorilla,
felt compelled to like
yeah,
fight on behalf of people, on behalf of his, yeah, whatever the term is for like your
because
family.
then he would have to maintain his alphaness, and then or however gorillas work it. I'm not really certain how they work it, but he would need to maintain his leader of the pack thing,
Yeah,
and
it
then
is interesting though, like because I think in this respect, men's concept of like I gotta be tough and like you stick it out, and otherwise like what's this guy over here and those 20 guys over there gonna think about me if I like split tail and run? Whereas
yeah.
the girl is like, screw you guys, I'm out. I'm trying to survive so I can have another baby and go on in the world.
So
So that's an interesting conversation.
there's also a lot of debate on like endurance, because I will say this, humans are, I think, I don't know, the mammals or animals that have the most endurance. I can't speak for, I guess, all, but that's from what I've read and from what I've seen, that like we can run far distances and outrun these animals. That's how we used to hunt. And I guess gorillas also, I mean, they're very powerful and they have a lot of strength, but 5 minutes of that or a few minutes of that, and sometimes like they also will become very tired. And so there's been that debate too, and I think even some experts have chimed in on like endurance and how much someone could last fighting off like a ton of people.
Hmm.
So there's that comes into the picture for that. So we're not experts, we're just podcasters and on here, and we're just throwing stuff and talking about this just because it's been on the internet. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing up the question. You mentioned a question, and you're like, I'm not asking anything until we're on
yeah,
camera.
I texted you on, and I was like, I'm not saying it. I'm saying it till later. Did you guys have, what were your thoughts? Like, what is he gonna ask us?
I had
No
zero
idea.
idea. I did not know what we were going to be talking about.
No, none. I had no clue.
Great. I'm glad I
No.
was able to keep it
Yeah.
together. But you all have seen this question, right? Pop up.
Yeah.
No, I
You
hadn't.
haven't?
I hadn't.
Okay.
No, I
You have a
hadn't.
better news feed then, I guess, or feed.
Good.
Nobody brought up who would win between 100 women and a gorilla.
I did not see that. No, maybe we can bring it.
Well, for sure, the women wouldn't be running into a fight with a
It's true.
gorilla.
That's why it's
Sure,
not a
exactly.
question. There
Right.
you
Yeah.
The
go.
women would be like,
Right.
that looks dangerous. We should avoid that. We should go the other way.
There's
Mhm.
the answer.
Well, yeah, the strength question though is interesting because I just think that I mean I've been trying to think about it and how I would answer this question, and I don't know how to define it without talking about its context.
Uh-huh.
And so, just depending on what you're in, its context and how it's wielded. And I just think a lot of it is relative. I don't know.
What if we talked about it? What if we proposed some context? What if we spoke about it in terms of strength in pursuing a goal or a dream?
Mhm.
Like,
That translates more into steadfastness, right? Like your perseverance, and is that
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking about like, with the podcast, what we are hoping to talk about with people is the ways that you can show up to be a hero.
Mhm.
And if we talk about strength in the terms of in pursuit of a goal, dream, ambition, whatever that you've got your sights set on, that's one way to think about it. Because I guess immediately when I pose it that way, my mind goes to, sure, there's a lot of ways that you can dig in and show resilience and grit. We've talked about that before. But
Mhm.
I think there's also a great deal of strength
Mhm.
in quitting.
And quitting? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really realizing when this is well, I could talk for days about this if you'd like.
It's interesting, right? Like you think
Keep
about strength, like we talked about like the vulnerability, like embracing the vulnerability, embracing the discomfort. There's a lot of strength in being able to do that because I don't think everybody can all the time. I think
Mhm.
that's sort of what keeps people stuck, sort of what keeps people moving forward on something that they know is just not in their gut, isn't right. Um, I think that it's they're not quite in a position of strength to be able to embrace the discomfort or the like whatever it is that they would feel in that sort of changing direction or releasing something or moving forward in a way that doesn't include what you were working on.
Yeah. But what you're kind of talking about is finally making that step to change, right? Like that I have been thinking about this for like a really long time, and then now I have the strength to do it. Is that what you're talking about?
I guess so, because like I think about, when we think about what it means to be a hero, like when we talk about like everyday people being their own heroes, I sometimes think you can be a hero when you decide to quit something.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
when you decide to just like, nope, this is not serving me, as people say. This is not what I signed up for. This
Mhm.
is not my vision. I gotta do something different. I think
Mhm.
there's to me that I hear that and I think that's hero stuff to me. Like that's
Okay,
how
so what's a moment in your life that you would
Ooh, Neva getting personal.
you know
you don't
what
have to
that's
say
no,
anything. You
that's
don't have
a
to
good
share.
question. I don't know if I'm clocking one for myself. I
Okay.
mean, sure, I could. I mean, if we're talking about like relationship stuff, sure.
Uh,
For folks who don't know, I'm getting divorced. So,
Well, I
um,
didn't mean to bring that up. I'm
no,
just
it's
saying
okay. I mean, that's surely like, is there a giant ass elephant in this room? I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, sure, I could dive into that. But I guess, sure, relationships, yeah. Um,
I can think of lots of things in your life. Like in
well,
just the what, two,
what you
3 years
got?
I've known you. Yeah.
Okay, what you got?
Well, the fact that when you moved here, you stopped doing what you were doing. You went into real estate. That's a complete different 180, right? Like that's not what you were doing before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I've always
Mhm.
been somebody who like gets an interest and is like, "Ooh, let's do that." And then I'm like, "How do I do that?" And then I just dig all in on whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um,
And that's a strength. A lot of people couldn't do that. They
sure,
would be like,
sure.
I stayed with a career for how long? A very, very long time. And I can tell you 15 years into it, I was like, "Ooh, this is not good. This isn't for me. I need to leave. I need to
But you
change."
drew upon strength to stay in it,
Yeah,
right?
which was not the smart thing to do. That was
Interesting.
not for the long-term career goals. It was not the smart thing to do.
Oh.
For my mental health, it was not the smart thing to do. For my physical health, it was not the smart thing to do. Your body and your brain is telling you something. And when you sit there and you say, hey, look, I'm going to keep it going because I made a commitment or because, um, this is what I've signed up to do. And hell no, they're not going to defeat me.
Mm.
I'm not going to let them defeat me because for some reason in your head, you've turned this into like a competition when nobody gives a shit. So, um, I stayed far longer than I should to the detriment of my own career, to my own financial gain because
But
you
would you say
stayed.
that your strength backfired, or would you define that differently?
I would totally define that differently. I would not call that a strength.
Okay.
A I would not call that a weakness. I would call that and by that I mean the decision to stay in a job that I knew was going nowhere for me, that I knew was not interesting to me anymore. Well, it was interesting to me, but I was not there was no you just do something for a while, your interest starts changing and you need something different. Your brain needs something different. And so um I went back to school thinking that would help and it did for a little bit, but it didn't help me in my career. It did absolutely nothing. And so, that wasn't something that helped my career. I would say that it wasn't there it's a strength in one area of life, but my sticking it out was out of one, not knowing what the hell else to do,
Mm.
two, being scared about not having a job for a length of time and health insurance and all these
Uh,
other things, um that whatever strength I had to leave, I channeled into staying. Does that make sense?
Oh.
And so I I I think if you're not careful, maybe this is where I'm going with this. Like
mhm.
if you're not careful and you're not paying attention to what your strength is trying to tell you, you can channel that into destructive things. So, or not helpful things.
And I think I think for me at least, speaking for myself, and maybe for others as well, is it's so hard to know when this might not be the right way or giving up. And I guess maybe but there's that ego, I guess, that says like you're not a quitter, don't give up,
Yeah. Mhm.
uh, and you continue. And there's also other people telling you just keep going. You're almost there. You'll get there. There's your big breaks around the corner, which who knows if it's true? Maybe it's true for some. Maybe it's not true for others.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know, and there you might hear the story of this one person that just kept on going and they did it or they accomplished whatever that they were trying to do, and that might be
Mhm.
true about them, and but maybe that's just not for you, or maybe that's not what you should be doing. And you being letting go and changing directions might be the best thing, especially if you're not happy in that
Yeah.
job, that relationship, or other things. Maybe that might be the best thing. But it does bring up one word that I've heard being used now in our society: crashing out. Do you guys know what crashing out means?
No,
Oh,
I've
I
never
haven't
heard
heard
that.
that.
Y-
Interesting. What is it?
Yeah, a
What's
lot
it
of
mean?
people are like, "Oh, this is their crash out," where they just kind of they leave, but they leave destructively. Like they'll just like leave in like a horrible way, like, oh, they're crashing out of this.
No.
And so it just reminds me of what you're saying, like it could form into this just destructive thing, and then you just, I guess, using the term crash out of whatever it
Yeah.
is, you just leave it in
Oh,
like a
that's
really,
interesting.
whether it's relationship, whether it's some employment or work or thing that you're doing, you're just crashing out. You just leave it, you leave in a destructive way. I don't exactly have an example of that to give you guys, but I can give you the definition that I just looked up. It just crash out. It can have a few meanings depending on the context. Primarily refers to someone having a public meltdown or an intense emotional outburst, often due to anger or frustration. So
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
yeah, pretty much. And so it could lead to that, like by not recognizing it or realizing it and leaving earlier, whatever it is, giving up, I guess, and you can end up crashing out. Might make good for like some viral video that ends up
Mhm.
someone's being recorded. So
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
so interesting. Crashing out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something a little poetic about it, I'm sure, in some ways, right? Sometimes things deserve to get crashed out
oh
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as if places that you are or things that you're involved in are toxic or whatever, maybe the crash out is earned. Um, I don't know, but that's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. I Go
and
ahead.
I think there's been, again, I guess, that toxic masculinity or pa- I want to say patriotism. What's that word that you guys were saying? Patriarchy.
Oh, patriarchy.
Patriarchy. Our grandparents stick together. You just make it work, no matter what. Like, and
Well, there's a certain amount of privilege to
mhm.
sit there and say, well, there's a lot of privilege wrapped up in, like I can just crash out, like
Oh,
sometimes you just can't crash out. Like your family is relying on you and you will literally starve to death if you're not
I,
finding the strength somehow to keep this going.
that's an excellent point. That is a serious place of privilege to just be like, I could just burn it all down and walk away and it's totally fine. Like that
true.
is
Because
a
part
privilege.
of the reason why it took me so long to get to a point to finally leave my job was I felt comfortable enough to say, okay, I can pay for Cobra. There is the Affordable Care Act now, so before then there wasn't, so I had to have found some way to pay for health insurance. I couldn't, uh, I wouldn't have a steady paycheck because we have a business. The business is like sporadic, and businesses are sporadic, and so I didn't personally feel that financially or it would be responsible for me to leave. And it wasn't until I felt a little level of, um, you know, um, like some sort of relaxation, like, okay, I can leave for a little bit. I'm old enough that I have enough in my retirement. I have enough, we have the Affordable Care Act, so I can, we can get health insurance and without because I don't know how much any of that stuff costs. For all I know, it's a gajillion dollars, and so or it covers nothing, and you're paying all of this every month, but you have really no coverage, like
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's like I didn't know, and it's hard to find out for reals because like you get told stuff, but until something actually you're in it, you don't really fully understand. So
You know,
anyway, um,
sorry.
go ahead.
You just brought up something that just reminded me of something else, and it's going to be off topic. But I do thank you for bringing up privilege because that is something that I think when we're talking about giving up or moving on, like some people don't have an opportunity to. They're in situations that might not allow them for their health, for whatever reason, safety, many things. And so I think it's a good reminder to bring that up. And there's these scenarios and situations where they just can't. Um,
Yeah.
you just brought up health insurance, and do you remember when I went to the hospital about almost a year ago or coming up a year ago?
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
sick
Yes.
So I have
so quickly.
coverage. I
Uh-huh.
I guess to bring everybody up to speed, when you and I were in the campaign office, we were doing some work, and all of a sudden, like I just felt sick, and
Well, he came in completely healthy.
yeah,
Like you were like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo,
like I know,
let's do call time." And then in the blink of an eye,
10 minutes
you were
in,
like, "Oh, I'm not well." And like within an hour, you were ashen and miserable. And oh, I felt so bad for
I threw
you.
up like 7 times in the bathroom, and it
Yeah.
was it couldn't stop, and so I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I don't know what this is. It could be just food poisoning. It could be something worse. And it was my first time ever experiencing something like that. So I've never been to the hospital. Out of my
Wait, pause button. You've literally never been to the hospital for yourself?
Yeah, I've never broken a
What?
phone, never been to the well, I didn't have health insurance growing up, but there's never been a situation where there was an emergency and I needed to go check into the hospital
For yourself.
for
Okay.
myself. But
Impressed.
Did it
plenty
a
of
jillion
people,
times.
family members, I've helped them, even in my job. So I know I've been in the hospital, but yeah, never nothing.
Sure, sure. Wow.
So I got lucky because I grew up without health insurance, and I mean, I was also a kid that would just go out and hang out with friends, and so something could have happened, gone wrong, but thankfully nothing did. But so my
Good.
first time going there, and I have coverage with through my wife's work. Um, I'm still paying like a $2,000 bill,
Yeah.
and I wonder. It makes me wonder, like because we're in a situation, and I don't want to. There are obviously things that could be better with the Affordable Care Act and health insurance, but we used to be in a place that was worse. So I'm wondering, like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Like, what was it like $8,000, $6,000, $5,000?
Can I just, when I left my job
Yes,
to maintain our health insurance was $1,900 a month.
that's some more.
And I kept it because I was going through the gallbladder
Wow.
situation, right? And I didn't know what sort of like I wasn't clear on the coverage, and I knew I needed to have surgery and whatever. Yeah, it was. So we kept it, and then finally it was like, okay, well, this is done. We are absolutely cannot afford
So,
double our mortgage for health
Right?
insurance.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
yeah,
just what ridiculous. I mean, don't even get me started, y'all, on
but
yeah,
freaking
and I guess not to
health
defend
insurance.
this amount, but I'm assuming that you paid that and then it covered like whatever $100,000 that it was going to cost for your surgery or other things.
yeah,
You know, it could have
yeah,
you could have had to sell your house or something pretty much. And I'm sure people
yeah,
had to do that
mhm,
prior to this where we're
Yeah.
at now. Where
yeah,
if they just went down like in order to get health to get fixed, to get that surgery, to do something, they had to sell their house, take out
yeah.
these humongous loans, and
Or you just have the debt. That's it. You just carry it.
that's crazy.
So like, yeah. So like people with student loans, they have just had an article. I forget, like New Yorker or Atlantic,
Do any of us have
or maybe
student
it was
loans?
even the AP.
Sorry.
What?
I guess do any of us have student loans here?
Not anymore.
Or
Not
Yeah.
anymore.
not? I never had student loans, but
No. Um, the there's these like basically, I mean, they're boomers, right? So they're all like in their 70s, and they have student loans that they took out.
wow.
Not big loans, but over the years, the cost of them has like
Oh,
ballooned to like 150, $250,000 because of the cost of their inability to pay. Like this one woman, she went and got a degree, but the job market for her degree, which was, I don't remember exactly what it was, special education or something, didn't pay nearly the amount that she needed to sustain her family and pay off her student loan. And so she's going to die with that debt. Like that's just it. Like you just, and I just, my brain goes into like, how do you just accept that you have this debt? Like that's just the way it is. You will never be ahead. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work, no matter anything, like you do everything right, and these things happen, and you will never, ever, you'll just die in debt. Like that just blows my mind. And um, I don't know. It was just kind of sad. But it's the same thing with healthcare. You just assume, something bad happens, and you don't have the health insurance, or we have health insurance now, but with the Affordable Care Act, like there's still things you have to be able to
right.
pay. It was $195 for me to get the diagnostic mammogram, $95 for the appointment, $95 for the next appointment that I'm going to have, $195 for the sonogram. Like it's still not $2,000 a month,
Right.
but it just piles up and piles up.
I always think about the amount of people that live paycheck to paycheck and how it's like your one like car malfunction, one like
Mhm.
medical issue, one dental issue away from just like, a barrage of debt, whether that like, you stack it on a credit card, which then gets interest because you can't pay it all off in one lump sum. It becomes this really slippery slope very quickly.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people who have the privilege of having a lot of money can't really relate to that, how it's like one root canal that like doesn't go well, and then you got to go in, whatever, all this stuff. I mean, root canals on their own, what are they, like $2,000 if you don't have health insurance, and they're like $1,200 if you do.
Mhm.
Okay, great. But
Yeah.
I mean, for
You
a lot
couldn't
of
figure
people, having that
dental
money
insurance.
set aside for a random tooth problem, like people don't have that. They don't have that money just waiting in the wings to take care of that. So they put it on credit or borrow money or whatever.
Or you just don't
So
go.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
You
go.
don't
or
go.
Yeah.
people don't go. And it's like it's just, these are problems that have solutions that just people in the positions of power don't want to use their strength in the way that makes the most sense.
That's a good way. That's a good way to tie it in. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
But I mean that I think is like we can sit here and talk about like the politics of everything and like let's clearly define strength and like how people whatever, but it boils down to how you use it in life and how people where people find it in order to get through things like this.
uh-huh.
And that I don't know, I don't have
And
anything
then
magical to say here, but
no, you're kind of summing it all up, but also the strength to let go of something, to move on, to jump out of that relationship, that job, into something better, because that also is strength, and we can do that.
yeah. Well, and just mm, this might bring it down too, but like the strength to understand that you may never ever get out of your situation. So how do you channel that strength into something positive and not negative?
Yeah,
Where you don't crash out and
for
you
sure.
turn
Like
it into
sit in the
something.
discomfort.
Yeah. And I mean, that sounds really like depressing, but I think that is something that a lot of people have to deal with. Like, you just, this is what it is. How do I find the strength to not let it defeat me or let me make this be negative or hate life and hate people? But how do I turn this into letting it or making it so that I can keep going and that I still care about people in the world and and I and maybe this is a good thing because I feel like that's where the world is at the moment anyways. Like they're just people are scared and they're tired and they're um how am I going to provide for my family? I don't know if we're going to have enough money. I don't know if what's going to happen with this economy. I don't know what I'm going to do. How do I stay strong in that? So I don't know. I'm getting depressing.
No, I get it. Like I'm just thinking about the stuff
Migraine remnant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Neva taking it dark,
Yeah.
which is dark Neva. Um, Neva Noir. There you go.
Yeah.
Sounds a little more flattering. Neva Noir.
Did you guys watch Raising Hope?
No.
Oh my God. It is the cutest show ever. It ran like in the teens, I think. So like 2010, 11 or whatever. Anyways, it had Martha Plimpton in it, who was in the in Goonies, played one of the characters in Goonies, and then um and a bunch of other people. But basically they got pregnant out of high school, like in high
Oh,
school.
I
And so
think
they're
I know what
raising
show.
yeah, and so they had their son, and then their son ends up getting a serial killer pregnant. And so the baby they have to raise is Hope, right? This show is adorable, okay? It's the same people who did like My Name is Earl, which I happen to love. My Name is Earl. And so um anyways, this is super cute. But one of the son who has Hope has like an alter ego he had in high school was Drakkar Noir was his alter ego. He's like all goth and all that other kind of stuff. It's hilarious.
That's awesome. That will be your alter ego when you get like dark and like,
Yes.
like what did you say, like the nihilistic thing we talked about
Yeah.
before? That'll be like Neva Noir.
Yeah.
There it is. But what I was gonna say is that some of the things that I do, just for listening audience, if this is helpful, I don't know, but and people can chime in, ping us with the stuff that you do to keep yourself from crashing out because we've all certainly been tested. Um, I try to insert as many things into my day that make me happy as I can think of. And that can be like the smallest little things. Like I love to wear perfume, so I put perfume on every day. Smelling it makes me
Glitter
happy. Yeah.
and
Um,
a flower in your hair.
I love flowers and gardening, so I have a lot of house plants. I call them my plant babies. I tend to them. It brings me joy. I do a lot of positive self-talk, both like inside my brain and speaking it out loud to nobody. Because I think that's important to say the words out loud, like
It is.
I'm okay. Like I will just tell myself, I'm okay. This is okay. I'm okay. It's fine. It's fine.
I read somewhere that somebody like has named themselves inside their head.
Oh,
So like they're like, come on, Barb, or like, come on, whatever name you want to have for yourself,
okay.
like your alter ego, but the name, whoever
Okay.
the little obnoxiousness is in your head, you've named it.
So you can like direct your
Mhm.
commentary at it.
Mhm.
I like it. Okay, yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think there, I'm sure everybody has their own ways of doing this, but you can the point is that you can intervene before the crash out. You can turn things around. And I think we've talked about it so many times on this podcast, but like the next couple of years will test us in ways we can't even know yet, and you're
Mhm.
going to have to do something to keep yourself from crashing out. So
Yeah.
you pick your strategies and what makes sense for you, and you the best. But I those are some of the things that I do. I try to laugh each day. I also try to listen to music, and because those things remind me of other people, humanity. They just evoke emotion that I think is really valuable. Like keeps me in touch with my personness.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you guys have things that you do to prevent the crash out?
Yeah, I do. It does. It's less by myself, but what I do is I like to see friends and family. Like I think they
Mm,
also just take me out of the space that I'm in. Maybe it's a family get together party, hanging out with friends and just seeing how they're doing. I have great friends. I have friends that allow me to share the good and the bad with them. Of course, bouncing off ideas, advice, things like that. I would say I struggle. I wouldn't say I struggle alone, but like I
Mhm.
struggle just not doing anything. Like when
mm,
if I'm feeling a certain way and I have to do something. Like I have to maybe clean this thing or maybe help somebody on something. And so it's very hard, I think, for me to just sit still. And I think that might be something that I picked up from my grandparents, from family, like
Yeah.
always doing something. And then when you're with family, you're with family. But also, I think if you've met me, you've probably picked this up, or maybe not. I don't know. But I'm a I define myself as a very unserious, serious person. Like I joke a lot. You know that. I
Yeah.
don't take things too seriously. I poke fun, say something, and just make people laugh. Sometimes I also just try to just tone it down a little bit, and not everything is super serious or super dark, and just laugh. You know.
mm.
Yeah.
So
You have a very dry sense of humor.
do I really?
Yeah, you do. You'll throw something in there and you're like, oh, that was pretty funny. Like it's just, yeah. There's no
Just
preamble
sneaks
to
right
it.
in
You just
there.
go slide in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do. I like lookouts. So like I like so growing up in the Bay Area in my parents' house, you could look out their bedroom window and just see parts of the bay.
Mm.
Like you can see hills, you can see parts of the bay because we're on top of a hill. Of course, I move here and there's none of that,
House.
right? So you could, yeah, I'd see houses. Like there's no lookout. Um, so I like to go places where I could just go look out, like hike to the top of a hill and then just be able to just look out. Um, but in the absence of that, I will just go stand on my porch and look out to the park. That's it. But so that's one thing I like to do. But I don't know, mine's kind of weird because I don't I don't have a lot of I don't think I have a lot of tools. I don't know. I've got to think about that. Like to keep myself positive. I don't know if I necessarily have little like biohacks for that. Um,
I
just go
I
ahead.
think some of we may not recognize it as tools. So I hadn't
Yeah, I
thought
gotta
about
think about
this
it.
like until right now when I was hearing you
Yeah.
guys talk. So maybe something you haven't recognized that you do.
I think one thing I do like weird is I gotta lay on the floor. Like that's a weird thing. Like I find laying on the floor like to be really, I mean it's grounding, right? That's what they say that is. And I guess maybe it translates into what you were saying about having like your 10 toes on the ground in the dirt, you know.
Yeah.
But like sometimes if I'm tired, I'll just go lay down in the living room like in like a starfish and
Yeah.
like and I'll fall asleep sometimes. But it's, you know, I don't know, those are some that's just I think the big way that I probably regroup and try and stay positive because it's like that for some reason just being down on the ground and kind of just I don't know, relaxing tends to put me in a better state of mind.
Mm.
Because again, like I could get pretty Dracar Noir. But
I like looking forward to things, and I think all of us love to do that as well, like making plans and like knowing that something's coming around the corner. Like you just have another few weeks, and you're going to get to that
yeah,
getting out or seeing something, or that family celebration coming around the corner that you'll get to see everybody. That also, I think, helps keep me going and or making plans with friends. Those are always fun.
yeah, yeah. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. Oh, that's making
Is
me
it going to be a
happy.
big change or just
No, no,
okay?
it just needs to get cut badly. I don't want to do too much because it took a long time to get this long.
Great.
But I don't know.
I'm excited. I want to see it.
Oh,
It's gonna be
well, hopefully.
cute.
So I guess to not to end it, but to kind of give something to our listeners to think about what are those little things to do that make you happy in moments that you're struggling, where you're thinking of crashing out, or there's a situation where it's very difficult to get out of. Like maybe if you don't have some of those things, to think about it and to also uh, figure them out and see what those are so that it can help you during these difficult times. If you'd like to share, let us know in the comments once we post this video on YouTube or social media, whatever we do. But we want to hear from you as well.
Yeah. Mentioned I mentioned last time that we met that we would be in person. Or maybe I mentioned that 2 times ago. I don't know. But we do have everything available to do that. We just need to do our setup. And so we're working on that. So at some point, we will actually have guests come on to the pod
It's that
and do what we
magical.
set out to do
Yes.
initially.
Hang in there.
Um, I'm looking forward to that a
Me
lot.
too. I'm really excited to hear from other people. We're very interesting folks, but I also want to hear from other people.
Yes.
I'm curious how being in person will change our conversations because you know how being on this screen thing and cutting each other off and knowing when to do this, like how that's going to change, and how hopefully our conversations are a little bit more. I don't want to call them formal, but structured, and just being able to talk to each other, see you face to face, not through this camera, and being
Yes.
able to.
And a delay because I don't know what your response is. So, like,
I
yeah,
know. Yeah. When we
it'll be
told
good.
people we're awkward, like we know.
Yeah. Awkward turtle, awkward
Yeah, I'm
turtle.
gonna maybe embrace the cringe a little bit. I don't know.
Ooh. I've always liked the embrace the suck. Like,
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, I've heard it before, but not. It's been a while.
Oh, guys, I always just be saying some weird stuff.
You do, but that's okay.
It's true. I know. It's okay. It's just who I am. I don't know why. It's just been like that my whole life.
Embrace your quirks.
Yeah,
It's
I'm a
fine.
bit
We have
quirky.
your quirks.
Yeah, it's part of my charm. What was I going to say? Oh, I have something I'm very excited about. Next weekend, and I don't know if we'll include this or not, but maybe. I am going to San Diego to get a tattoo.
Oh yeah.
I'm very excited.
I
I
know.
booked it months and months ago. Oh my gosh, been anxiously waiting. So super jazzed. Next time we film, I will, assuming it's not in the state of healing still, I will wear it's a tank. I'll wear a tank top so people can see it.
First tattoo, right?
I'm so excited.
Say again?
First tattoo.
That's right. This is my first one.
Yeah.
She's never had any her whole life. She's a newbie.
No, for folks who don't know me, I have a lot. So this is
And they're beautiful. They're very beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm a
Like,
fan.
yeah.
I like them.
And this artist that you're going to has already done one. And
Yeah.
so now
Oh,
you
right.
have another.
Yeah. He's incredibly talented, so super excited about it. Can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm jelly.
And then
San Diego.
we're going to be traveling down south.
We are going to the convention.
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I need
Maybe
someone to help set up for this. Like, what's the vibe? Like, what kind of outfits should I be rocking?
that's kind of interesting because I've been to a few, and I've been to some where I'm just like suit and tie, and I've been to some where it's just a jacket, maybe a button up,
Like business casual.
business casual.
I wore jeans and just do like jeans and a shirt and a blazer or some
Yeah, I usually throw a blazer there once in a while. You're like, I'm not a blazer person.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
You don't need to do that. You know my feelings on that. You don't need to.
I will do my best.
Yeah, but I would just say like business casual.
Yeah,
is what I would say. Yeah,
pretty good. We'll see.
Okay.
I mean, for who what we're doing and who we are. Yeah, I don't think you need to be anything fancy.
Although I do like fancy. I mean,
yeah, fancy's not bad. I think this is one where you could go fancy, but you don't have to.
Now, when we say fancy, do we mean fancy like demure?
Yes, demure business fancy.
Yeah, I know what that means. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can guess based on my hair color. I have some fun and funky clothes, but maybe that's not the vibe.
You could do what you want. I don't.
All right.
What?
I said I don't know what you're talking about. Like I can't. Like you're saying fun and funky, and I'm like trying to picture, but I can't.
I have like an emerald green velvet jumpsuit.
Ooh.
Girl, I say rock it if you want. Like that's up to you. You know my feelings on this. Let you be you. If you want to rock a velvet green jumpsuit, I say roll with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you pointing at?
He's all,
I don't know what else to say.
That felt like what did that felt like a dad thing, like it's something that a dad would say because he doesn't want to discourage your quirkiness, your freedom of expression, but also he's like,
I just the reason why I guess I was kind of like that is because I still can't picture it. It's like so I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's okay. So
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, we'll see what happens. Like I might show up and people might be like,
I really don't think you need to worry about it.
Yeah, I can't imagine people are going to give a crap about what I'm wearing.
If we keep this in, we need pictures to like tell our listeners like what you ended up with.
Oh yeah, we could definitely take some pictures when we're doing this.
Yeah,
and then
or maybe just throw in a clip. Maybe we'll just say, "Hey guys, that's."
Yeah, we could go live.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's
That
gonna
feels
be. It's pretty busy, and
I'm gonna have to cut out a lot of things I said in this.
yeah, we'll see what you cut out. But let's make our jobs easier. I guess to better say Neva's job easier, and maybe cut it here.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Neva's like, I don't want to go for another half hour.
No, that's
Do
okay.
it. All right.
Okay.
Who's
All
closing
right,
us
you
out?
guys. What'd you say?
I said, who's closing us out?
I think Tomas should.
You think I should? Okay.
Yeah, huh?
Before I say that, I do want to encourage people: don't fight a gorilla. Just leave it alone. Just if the gorilla's there and you have 99 friends with you, just go the other way.
Yes.
Go do something better with your time, and go be your own hero.
I love it. Woo-woo!
I was just like,
All right.
yeah, just walk away.
Just don't. Just don't.